The date is September 21st. It is a Saturday. Um, and for this week's video, I'm gonna talk about alcohol and why I think drinking alcohol is a stupid thing to do. I'm not gonna tell what my audience should and should not do, but I'm just gonna explain why I think it's kind of dumb and impossible alternatives to it, and why I choose personally in my life to not drink alcohol. There is a fan right by my face, so if I rewatch this and the fan is kind of masking the sound of my voice the entire time, I'm gonna be pretty upset about that. Um, so yeah, the reasons I'm gonna give you, they fall within three buckets generally. The first is gonna be just the social and practical reasons why it's so ingrained in Western society, Western culture, right? As like a social lubricant, why it's so common. The second, it's just like the negative consequences as far as health concerns go, health reasons, right? The third thing, and this is what personally interests me the most about this topic, and it has to do with like the spiritual concerns relating to this topic. So let's start off with the social and practical reasons. And if I look down, it's because I'm looking at notes while I'm talking. So yeah, you're gonna make a fool out of yourself whether or not you want to. If you drink just slightly excessively, you're gonna make a fool out of yourself. Whether it be in a party, in a bar, what have you. You talk excessively, you overshare, and you talk very loudly. It's obnoxious. Um, and you forget. You forget what you even the experiences, the interactions that you've had that night, right? And you just generally have less control over your actions, over your cognition, and your decision making skills in general. Um, Second thing within this bucket, the financial pain. Unless you're going to a grocery store and you're buying like a pack of whatever beer yourself, you're gonna end up breaking the bank anytime you go to a bar or a club or whatever. And you end up drinking a lot. It's unavoidable. And if you do decide to be, economical, and you go and you opt for the route of just buying alcohol yourself from a grocery store and consuming it at your own convenience, that's possible. It is economical, but the risk of becoming an alcoholic significantly increases, right? Drinking by yourself, not the best thing to do. So yeah, the financial pain, it's unavoidable. You just completely lose uh, your concept of the value of a dollar. You'll go from getting one or two drinks to eventually by the end of the night spending, over $200 even, which is insane. If you're going to a bar or whatever to drown your stresses over financial problems, you're just gonna make it worse. So that's the third thing. The other thing that has to do with like the practical kind of social reasons why people drink and why I choose not to is that it objectively does not taste good. Anyone that claims that it tastes good is just like the benefits that they receive from it, the social lubrication they receive from it. And anyone that says it does taste good claim that it's an acquired taste. And anyone that says something is an acquired taste, that thing is probably it tastes like garbage. Uh, and I speak from experience. I've claimed that coffee, and I love coffee, but I've claimed that coffee is an acquired taste because I rely on it. I rely on the caffeine and the anxiety-inducing energy that I get from it. Um, but if I were to drink it, any coffee drinker would drink it for the first time. It's nasty. The bitterness, the acidity, depending on how you get it, it does not taste good. And so, same thing goes for alcohol. It becomes an acquired taste if you like the benefits of it. Um, yeah, I bet the vast majority of people would not drink those same beverages if it didn't have like 8 to 4%, sometimes 25% alcohol content in those drinks, right? Um, so yeah, the other thing, which is kind of minor relative to these other things that I'm talking about, it has to do with injuries. Just your risk of getting injured, not even in car crashes, that's an entirely different topic, of getting injuries from silly things, from slipping in on the floor from getting into dumb fights for just medial things that happen. Um, Again, this relates back to your just decision making capabilities just significantly get worse. They diminish when you're drunk, right? Um, so yeah, I'll maybe show a screenshot of just the increased likelihood of getting injuries, non-vehicle related injuries, somewhere here. The last thing within this bucket has to do with hangovers. So hangovers, it's a byproduct of it's a the liver produces a toxic byproduct when you consume alcohol, and that just it's horrible for your body, and it produces this hangover that you get the next day. Um, there's entire conversations and books even related to mitigating the effects of hangovers, right? Just because it's so objectively annoying for anybody that gets it. Um, so yeah, those are the reasons that fall within the social and practical things. I'm just gonna really briefly go over the health reasons why I think alcohol is kind of a dumb thing to do and to consume. Just list some chronic illnesses that you have a significantly higher likelihood of developing when you drink alcohol excessively, or just a little more than moderately, right? Heart disease, liver disease, breast cancer, bowel cancer, right? Mouth cancer, pancreatitis, and the list goes on and on and on. It's just so long. And let alone the comorbidities that you have an increased risk of developing with these illnesses. So for the next topic, or the next reason I think drinking alcohol is dumb, is the spiritual component of it. Why it diminishes your spirit, which is a very it's an underrated and often not talked about aspect as far as like the adverse effects of drinking, right? So I personally grew up with Islam and was taught to not drink, right? And so I've talked about kind of the practical reasons and the health reasons, but within a spiritual context, and this isn't just specific to Islam, it's relevant in a lot of belief systems. So if you don't know, alcohol is actually an Arabic word, al meaning the, and kohol is like the second part of that word. Um, as far as the etymology goes for that word, one of the translations is actually body eating spirit, right? So why is that? I'm going to talk about some of the research that I've done, but also just like my personal perspective as to why it's called the body eating spirit. Um, Unlike certain drugs, Schedule One drugs that are not easily accessible, that are very hard to get, and that are, severely criminalized, like psilocybin mushrooms, like LSD, for example, which are both Schedule One drugs that have proven, incredible capacity for healing both the mind and body, and for expanding consciousness, and for understanding yourself, and for understanding and connecting with other people. A drug like that is criminalized heavily. But something like alcohol, which has all those adverse effects that I listed before, is the most accessible one. Why? I think, for one, it's called a body eating spirit because it diminishes your consciousness. It makes you succumb to your lower instincts, and it puts you into a lower state of consciousness in general. Um, it's used as a tool to put entire communities of people into lower states of consciousness, and when you're in that state, you are more controllable, right? Personally, I think it's the reason why, when Spanish colonization occurred in the States, uh, there's a lot of reasons why, obviously. the Native American populations were kind of decimated. They brought over syphilis, other venereal diseases. There's like a slew of reasons, but one of the reasons had to do with alcoholism, right? It decimated entire populations of Native Americans here because it's just diminished their spirits, right? And one of the testimonies that people have in just describing their experience when you're under the influence of alcohol compared to other substances like weed or psychedelics or even uppers like cocaine or amphetamines is that you have less there's a distinct lack of control over your decision making, right? It's as if something is taken over you. It's as if it's an entirely different entity that's not you, which is why, hence the saying, "Oh, that's the alcohol speaking," or "That's the alcohol talking." You know, because sometimes it seems as though it's not you making the decisions. It's a depressant, and I believe it's a depressant that puts people into a lower state of consciousness. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much what my thoughts are on alcohol. Uh, Give me your thoughts, any comments, any opinions, whatever. And again, I'm in no place to tell people what they should or should not do with their lives. I'm just speaking from my own perspective, from my own experiences. For anyone that wants to share their own, feel free to leave it in the comments. Um, but that's pretty much it. I appreciate whoever's watching, and I'll see you. I'll see you in the next video.